The sky was heavy with clouds, the kind that threatened rain but hadn't quite decided to fall. A slow wind rustled through the open windows of the commercial bus as it rumbled along the highway, packed with tired travelers eager to reach their destinations. It was just days before Christmas, and every seat in the aging bus was occupied. Amid the crowd, David sat quietly with his family, his wife, Angela, and their two children, Blessing and Junior. They didn't own a car. David had struggled to save enough money to afford the transport fare and some basic foodstuff for the trip. David clutched a worn Bible tightly to his chest, whispering prayers beneath his breath, while Angela checked her reflection in her phone screen for the 10th time in an hour. Her newly braided hair was perfectly arranged, her lips freshly glossed. She adjusted her earrings, not once sparing her husband a glance. Their children dozed off, leaning against her shoulder, unaware of the storm that was coming. David had asked her to postpone the trip by a day. He had woken up with a strange feeling, heaviness in his chest, and an urgency in his spirit. But Angela had brushed off his concerns. You and this your over-sabi prayer life, she had scoffed. Nothing will happen. We need to be in the village before my sisters-in-law arrive. You know how they like to show off. This time, let me show them that I can slay too. David had sighed. She didn't understand. She never did. But he kept praying. The bus was nearing a narrow curve beside a broken down old bridge when it happened. A trailer came speeding from the opposite direction, its driver losing control. There was no time to scream. The bus driver swerved sharply, trying to avoid the oncoming collision, but it was too late. The trailer rammed into the side of the bus with a thunderous crash. Metal crunched, glass shattered, screams echoed, then silence. Seconds later, David came to the side of the road, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead and leg. All around him were bleeding bodies, mourning passengers, and twisted metal. He looked around frantically. Angela! Blessing! Junior! He screamed, crawling across the ground. He found the children first. Blessing had a deep cut on her arm. Junior had a swollen forehead, but both were breathing. Then he saw Angela, lying face down on the gravel. Her head was bleeding. Her dress was soaked with blood. He turned her over gently, screaming her name, tears streaming down his face. When the ambulance came, they rushed the family to the hospital. The doctors worked quickly to treat the children. David's injuries were stitched, but Angela remained in coma. Days before the accident, as Angela was returning from the market, a strange voice had interrupted her thoughts. She turned around and saw an old man begging for alms. She dipped her hand into her bag and brought out an old 15 naira note, which she handed to him. As she turned to cross the road to the other side, the man called again. My daughter, he said, Whatever you do, please don't travel to the village this Christmas. And if you must travel, pray and fast with your family before you embark on the journey. I see danger, blood, death. Angela laughed so loudly that she almost choked. Papa, this is not the first time I'm traveling to the village, and it will not be the last. In fact, I'm already there, she said as she hurriedly crossed the road to avoid further discussion on the matter. What kind of nonsense is this? She thought to herself. Enemy of progress, you want me not to travel so that my village people will think that I am so poor that I can't afford to travel. God forbid. Back to sender. That's why I don't like giving these people my money. She lamented. If only she knew, she would have listened to the old man. She shook her head as she watched her body lying motionless on the bed. Machines beeped softly. Her skin was pale, but inside her, something was not right. Her spirit was no longer in her body. It drifted above, light as air. She saw her husband, David, sitting at her bedside, holding her hand and praying. Is this it? Is this the end for her? Why is her spirit outside her body? She had heard David saying that when a sinner dies, he or she will go to hell. Was she going to hell? God, if only you give me a second chance. She was about to touch David when a presence stood beside her. It was an angel, tall, shining, powerful, but peaceful. He held her hand and they vanished into thin air. Angela and David had always struggled. They lived in a self contained apartment in Lagos, while David was a man of prayer and a believer in simple living. Angela had different dreams. She wanted a flashy life, expensive clothes, and attention. Social media was her playground. She loved compliments, lived for them, and often complained about her husband's lack of success. All you know is prayer. Prayer won't feed us. Look at others buying cars, posting vacation pictures, she had shouted once. David said nothing. He has never for once replied her or fought her, but he never forgets to remind her that a life outside Jesus will lead to crisis. Unknown to him, there was a dark shadow over his life. Uncle Sebastian, David's uncle, had always envied David. When David's father died and left a piece of ancestral land for David, Sebastian was furious. He believed the land should be his, but David refused to sell or give it away. That boy thinks prayer will make him rich. Sebastian spat one evening, drinking palm wine under the tree. 2 weeks before Christmas, Sebastian made his move. He journeyed to a hidden shrine in the forest of Uji, guided by torchlight and the wickedness in his heart. He met a very powerful native doctor. I want them gone, he said. David, his wife, his children. He must not live to enjoy that land. Dibia nodded. Do you have a point of contact? Yes, Sebastian said, and handed over a torn shirt he had once stolen from David's clothesline. The native doctor placed it inside the calabash, added the blood of a chicken, and whispered some incantations. Fire flickered, and dark forces were released. It is done, Dibia said. Before the year ends, you will hear bad news. Outside the hospital, the angel took Angela around. Angela, you must see what lies behind the veil, the angel said. Scenes unfolded before her eyes like a movie. She saw her husband praying even while hungry. She saw how often she had mocked him, complained, disrespected him. She saw how many times he had interceded for her, for their children, even when she didn't believe. Her spirit wept. Then the angel showed her Sebastian in the forest, handing over David's shirt. She saw the charm being prepared, the evil forces summoned, the road where the accident would take place. She saw the spirits sent to spill blood, and how God had heard David's prayers and had sent the old man to warn her of the danger ahead, but she didn't listen. She also saw how the Spirit of God had warned David not to travel, but because he didn't want to offend his wife, he had succumbed. She fell to her knees. I didn't know, she whispered. Please, give me a second chance. I will change. I will pray more and serve you all the days of my life. The angel placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't you know that it has been appointed unto man once to die, and after that judgment? Please, have mercy on me, Angela cried bitterly. The angel looked at David sitting by Angela. He hasn't eaten for days, yet he hasn't left her bedside. He has been praying since the accident. Your husband is a good man, he said. Now, you must go back and tell him all that you have seen. You must live a more prayerful and purposeful life. Love your husband, for he is the reason God is giving you a second chance. Tell your husband that the curse is broken and he will win a contract that will change his story. Now, go. Back at the hospital, Angela's spirit descended back into her body. Her fingers twitched. David was reading Psalm 91 when he felt her hand move. He jumped to his feet. Doctor, nurse, she's waking up. Angela's eyes opened slowly. Her voice was weak. David, I'm here, my love, he said, holding her hand. Tears streamed down his face. She blinked, tears forming in her eyes too. I saw it all. I saw everything. Sebastian, the native doctor, the plan to kill us. David stared at her, stunned. Prayer saved us, she whispered. I was wrong. I was blind. Please, forgive me. There's nothing to forgive, he said. God gave you back to us. She gripped his hand tightly. I promise to change my ways henceforth. I'll live a prayerful life. Prayer is not a joke. It's power, real power. After Angela was discharged from the hospital, she told David everything that she saw and what the angel told her. Days later, strange things began to happen to Sebastian. He screamed at night. He said spirits were chasing him. He confessed before the elders, then disappeared into the forest, never to be seen again. 6 months later, David received a surprise contract worth millions. A friend he had once helped got promoted and recommended him. From that day on, his life changed. He got a new apartment, opened a big shop for Angela, bought a new car, and the children returned to school. But in all, he never forgot the place of prayer. Angela, too, became a changed person, and they lived happily ever after. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this story, kindly subscribe, like, share, and turn on the notification button so that you can be notified when next I post another video. See you in our next story. Bye.